Comrade Benny Kotsoane. Comrade Benny come from this area of Kotsoane. Comrade Benny was a freedom fighter. He was one of our own. Comrade Benny was a militant. Comrade Benny was what Oliver Tambo bestowed upon the youth of this country as the death-defying young lions. Comrade Benny come from Itumeleng. Of course, he might have been born in Bloemfontein, but his political life was here in Itumeleng. This is the home of Thomas Mohapi. Thomas is still alive. This is the home of Jasmine Mokhotu, who is no more. This is the home of Bonaventure Ukhothi. This is the home of Kaiser Hotel. I mentioned these comrades in that order, and not everybody, because they came before in this area of Kotsoane. Comrade Thomas Mohapi and with Zolile Lobi, which I nearly mentioned, was among the youngest in this area in terms of youth militancy and mobilization. And we met at Khoratuto, which was the building and the manufacturing factory in this area of the militant youth of our country. These are the comrades who are the torchbearers who came before. Comrade Benny was one of the foremost theoreticians of our revolution, but at the same time, here in Kotsoane, we all came from the hands of Benny Kotsoane. Him and Lobi and Thomas were the first to taste the brutality of the police by being arrested by the police in Kotsoane. We all then followed thereafter. But Benny was the commissar. He was the one who nurtured and gave direction. Thomas was militant, but he was not very much strong on political education. He was just militant in terms of something must be done, people and the house must burn down now, everything must happen. And as a result, he got to be beaten by the police. For one thing, because in each section, Thomas abalowela le ponisa le limu le ne le sele haholo abare seo bota o fileng sona Oliver Tambo o file sona. So Thomas was from Lesotho, abamutrapa makgowa because of just saying that. And then they discovered that he went to Lesotho, and then he went to meet with the ANC in the underground. He was arrested, and the rest is history. And then there was Kaiser Hotel, whom the building of the ANC is named after him. Kaiser was one of the comrades who are also arrested here and sentenced for arson and sentenced to prison in the Grotvlei maximum prison. And they spent some time there and then came back. Kaiser was arrested in East Section, and I've heard also that his mother passed away. She will be buried tomorrow. May his soul rest in peace. Morawan Tate Zakaria, Tate wa Kaiser Ke Zakaria. We couldn't give Kaiser a funeral special like this because of many other things that were involved with it. But Kaiser came out of jail almost at the time when we were realizing freedom. There are many comrades I can mention by name, and some of them I see them here, one by one. And I walk in the footsteps of Comrade Sukhupi Malebu and testify that every word he have uttered here today is nothing else but the truth about the history of Botshabelo. Talking about Benny, Benny was a very simple man, and he prioritized informing all comrades in this area with political education. And he was targeted in that mission. And in Kotsoane, we were very young when we joined in the footsteps of Benny Kotsoane. And when we joined, we lived almost together. We were staying with Benny at his home in D section. Myself, CAT, Jabu, and Zoli. So every night, day and night, we used to discuss politics, everything, from philosophy to the history of the African National Congress. That Wapeni was fond of Urua. So nuna li dikgomo a bobedi. So ntate follow una haba dikgomo, nuna li lebisi le mme wa hae. So all the time we were looking for niceties like meat and all of that. We wouldn't get that. Narabolaisa papa kalibisi. Ngesikhosa kuthiwa ngumphokoqo. Besisitya umphokoqo lobheni. And then we'll wake up from there at night, run away from the police, we had our hiding place. And then we connected with Sikhalo, who also came and could not finish his university studies at Fort Hare, was dismissed from school. And then he came back. Sikhalo was also in D section. We connected with him through the structures and everything else, but that led to Black Sash Advice Office, officing at B section on the mountain, Muruti Mukweli, and then Limuruti Kunuts Lutheran Church in E section. Those were our refugees. And many other comrades around the schools. There were few schools in Botshabelo that were very involved in politics then, because to join politics was not fashionable. But Kotsoane was one, and we used to fight with Kupano Lekau. And then Uri, who is who. And then there were the Matutle brothers in Kau. And then Nanabu James Lituma. Panabarata di Tipa, Batubamu Kupano. Badulabata Magadi Tipa and everything else. And then it was us in Kotsoane. And then they came, the other schools in the East section, Riamuit, where we began to discover other comrades and so on. And then we then were grilled into understanding that the struggle continues. So Benny Kotsoane was a link between Botshabelo, the ANC in exile, as well as the ANC in the underground. And he linked up with Project Class in jail and also out of jail in the workings of the African National Congress in this region. And then Sukhupi played a very critical role in Muruti. Akidzibi kabosali Muruti, but in Muruti I am to some mix, Maponesa, Mueteta Mufrefe. So when we run away from Botshabelo, we'll run to Bloemfontein. And our refuge in Bloemfontein was the Lutheran Church. That's where we used to hide and get the refugee. And when we were arrested, the detainee support committee and so on was also operated from Tyler House and so on. We linked up with a lot of comrades in the trade unions in Mangaung, in Bloemfontein. We linked up with a lot of comrades in the UDF later on in the years. And then we formed strong civil society organizations. Here in Botshabelo, the struggle was led by the students. We were the foremost, and we organized and established the Botshabelo Youth Congress. Libo Mutseki, Bosledge, Libo Jab. And the biggest argument among us at that time was the issue of politics. Benny will emphasize. One of the reasons at our school, we went and so on, protest and so on, and we thought we were the most militant at school when everything was happening, and then we were chasing students out because comrades were arrested, and then Benny, in the evening, we connect with him. And then he will say, yeah, Rebashana, man, you are thugs, whatever. Runda, we thought we did the most revolutionary act. And then he started to explain that this is not the mission of the ANC to act in this manner. It is staggered. And then he began to teach us about political discipline. Political discipline that we had to internalize. What it means to a revolutionary, how a revolutionary must act. Of course, Oliver Tambo echoes those words today when he says that a revolutionary must be distinguishable from a vigilante, a criminal, and a thug. So Benny taught us that to the detail as to how a revolutionary must conduct himself. And we will go out of Botshabelo. I thank the Catholics, bishop, and the churches outside here, beyond Tabat. We will sit there and strategize and get political education, working with Trek, Bomam Leeds, and so on in Johannesburg. They will come. We'll sit there for weeks strategizing and being imbued about political education and the tactics of fighting the biggest political battle of this area, which was the incorporation of Botshabelo into Kwala. So Benny and Sikhalo worked at the advice office. At some point, the apartheid regime then introduced the kids constables. And then others was the Eagles Club and everything that we introduced in the schools. We had to mount a battle and a fight to fight these battles and so on. And there was the most militant amongst us. He's also no more. They called him Meltafa and then Chachi. Chachi not to make us church. Katipa. But Meltafa wouldn't also listen, just like Thompson. Unarata action. And he liked the Molotov and petrol bomb. And Unasadi mix it alright sometimes. So one time petrol bomb exploded in his hand. And then there were the Matutle brothers who were very, very, very militant and so on. So this place, Botshabelo, is very rich with militancy, and we never abandoned revolutionary theory. I can't forget T.H. Stone, Mutseki, Khumare, and many others. That's Botshabelo. That's where we come from. That's where Benny comes from. And Benny was the first from Botshabelo to be celebrated in the government of the ANC, led by Thabo Mbeki, and of course following on the footsteps of Sledge, who worked at the local government, but celebrated in terms of contribution in government by becoming the first Director General who came from Botshabelo and appointed by Thabo Mbeki. Now you'll understand, if you are appointed by Thabo Mbeki, like Lindy Sisulu was giving testimony here, that it means you are not Mashamba. You must have undergone a rigorous process to be recognized by that comrade. And Mbeki appointed Beni in Human Settlement as the Director General. And Beni worked tirelessly and became an inspiration to many of us and many of our comrades in this particular area. We were supported here in Botshabelo by Medicines du Monde. You might not know what is Medicines du Monde. Medicines du Monde is Doctors Without Borders. They were supporting us here in the struggle. And Beni, we met many people in Medicines du Monde and Doctors Without Borders. We met Hudel, who became later the wife of Beni. And then we met Stéphane de Montesquieu. They came from France. They supported us here, Doctors Without Borders, here in Botshabelo. We worked with them. We worked in Libo Osintani, Moroka, in Tabanchu. We used to go to Mangope and hide there. And those are the people who look after us here. When we're fighting a difficult struggle against apartheid and the regime that wanted to make this area a Bantustan. And we fought very hard with everyone in this area and Mangaung to defeat that. I can't forget Comrade Lifuo. He was part of the comrades. He was a teacher at Khau. And besides Mushonyani, teacher Mushonyani, he was living in A section. He didn't, at school, he didn't want to talk politics. But he was the most revolutionary. He's also a military. He's also a militant. Because Comrade Mushonyani na para marukwe adi hebiti, ano khona ubona or ka tlase wa pere. So you wouldn't associate him nicely with politics. So Ghana was not truly hippie. But these are the people at night in their spare time who imbued us with politics. NUSA, before the teachers' organizations were formed, those comrades belonged to NUSA and they were in our school. And the apartheid regime used to even deploy special branch to teach us there at school. And in our school, they deployed one who was teaching us geography. He was good and he was teaching us karate. Beni also was a karateka and he was very tough. So you couldn't just push him over, but he looks slender, but very tough. So that is Beni Kotsoane and the role that he has played. And it was no surprise when he rose through the ranks and became who he was. He came back in the Free State, in the political leadership, played a role, and also played a role and deployed in government as an MEC in this particular province. He played a role. Beni was organic. He was an intellectual. He had a theoretical mind. I mean, we then later on connected with Gregory Ntatisi when he came from exile in this area. So Gregory also became responsible for our political education and many things that you see around us. So our relationship did not just erupt now. To me and many other comrades, Beni was not a friend. He was a comrade. And he was a comrade because we were comrades in the struggle. Even if we could not meet for decades, but we will remember each other. And when we went through difficulties and challenges in life, many comrades played their part. And I want to thank them, Echo Comrade Sukhupi, for not letting Beni to be on his own. Comrade Gregory, I think that is natural. And many of his friends, both Dodo and many others. Dodo was Beni's friend, not just a comrade. He was his friend and many others here. Everything. So, na Beni because During our time, we were not drinking. So when he got introduced to alcohol, I was already in Johannesburg. So unwile le bododo mo le batho ba bang, and so on, Makan. But during our time, we didn't have time to have that. And I didn't personally to strike a personal note to be close to his family, but I knew his kids and so on, but I never met them. But we knew each other as comrades. So Benny was a comrade to us. And I'm not shocked when Gregory played a part in his life. And McQueen, as the premier of the province, and then and the executive council, Saki to appoint him as an advisor. Benny was not a beggar. We still expected a lot from him. And we still expected a lot from him to contribute to this country. And that is no more. I think we pick up the baton, we celebrate his life. But we want to tell him that Urtobit, because we still expected a lot from him. And indeed, he still had a lot to offer to South Africa. So Benny was a special breed in that way. And I think many of our comrades and many others who knew him will be heartbroken by what actually happened. But these are the tears of knowing where we come from, but at the same time celebrating a life of a giant. And we are thankful, comrades, for not let go, because today the word comradeship has got no meaning. Once you face challenges, people disappear, and even your comrades disappear. But now we grew up here. We didn't have clothes. We used to change clothes among ourselves. We went to jail, we were harassed here, and we went together till the end. And I'm happy that when Benny was facing difficulties, comrades stood by him. Because in today's life, it's not easy when you face difficulties at a personal level, whatever they may be, that comrades can remember you. Because not today as comrades, we don't love each other anymore. We look at each other, we use each other. And at the same time, we talk bad about each other. We gossip about each other. We don't lead each other in a proper direction. And I think for comrades to have stood with Benny to the end and then supported Benny, I think for some of us who are still alive, we must be grateful. We don't know the pain that Benny's family endured over the years, but we can only tell you that we are proud for having been with Benny in difficult times. And we are proud of comrades who stood by Benny in difficult times and never gave up. And we thank you, Premier, for some of us who have known Benny and where he come from. And we thank you and thank the provincial government comrades here who could still remember that there is a man called Benny Kotsoane, that we can still tap on his services and his intellect to come and help the ANC government. Because Benny, like it has been said, was trained by the ANC for many years, coming from this province and coming from this area. Him, Mutseki and Sledge. Mutseki became a policy consultant and also worked in government. But they were consultants. And then besides consultants, they became civil servants over a period of time. And many others that we can see here amongst us. And Jack Class, he was a commissioner in the Western Cape. He's now retired, he's old, but he likes to behave like he's young. And he's not young, and he's very old. But these are the comrades in this region who came before and led the youth in this region, here in this Free State. And we went on to connect with our comrades in Bethlehem, and then we went to connect with our comrades Botumaul, Bo Isma Khashule, Marnaba Itulela Gauteng most of the time. Many other comrades we met, and then Libo Velkom, Bo Pizananges in those times. So, Bokopisi Tosh Matlagaze, who became the president of the Free State Youth Congress. And then we established UDF here, and we established UDF, and then we established UDF here, and we established UDF Aerial Committee in Bloemfontein, Libo Comrade Zingile Tingan, who also was in NUSA, Comrade Zingile, long before. There is somebody I'm missing in my mind, who also was a teacher at Khoratutu, but was at NUSA, also came from that side of Vulamasang, in Bloemfontein, Mangaung, as you would have called it today. So there are many comrades here and all of that. When freedom came and then organizations were unbanned, we then now managed to establish the ANC throughout the province of the Free State. It was divided in the north and the south. And then we belonged to the south. And then Masada was a building in the north, Tile House was a building in the south. And the south was led by Khaled Mutab. And then Bomtolisi and others, Odindal's race, Silo Ditebe. Silo Ditebe liked dialectical materialism. He could sing it without reading. Unai Krenile Kasho. The laws of nature, he could present them. We were together for a long night and a week at Velgespreet in Johannesburg and at Winnie Mandela's house. We were excited by this. And when we got to prison, and I conclude now, Tate Mutsabi, we were discussing politics and everything, but we were excited about dialectics. And Caleb then came and said, Banna, le mo itsetse kae Karl Marx ene le buang ka yena mo o sa phela motho. And then we're talking about Karl Marx, philosophy of class struggle and so on, and class consciousness. And then he said that banna le ka se bui ka bo Karl Marx ba go tlhokala le sa itse history ya legolo. And then Caleb, every day without fail, from 9 o'clock till 12, in solitary confinement, he will give a lecture without fail on the history of our struggle, the national democratic struggle, the history of our struggle. We came from those bases, that political consciousness, but Beni was in the forefront of that. And comrades, many of our comrades came through the ranks over a period of time in the Youth League and so on. And Beni was no more in that circle. He became a civil servant and all of that, and came back later into active politics as a political leader. But we had here Bo Seiso Mohai, Bo Neo Masitela, Bo Taxiti Mulaba, whom we have buried in Harrismith. And many of the comrades who were there but came to lead in the process of legality. Bosaki Mufukeng, Skala Babona Nova Kinsedi Sutu, these comrades were just another thing. If you look old pictures and today you compare before and now, you will see that we have come a long way. Na isali kilislenda eba Yesu, kilimutle kilije, kitwana lipeni. So azange ka change. So kialebo premier. And to his kids, may you grow up knowing very well that your father was a patriot. He was a fighter. He was a revolutionary, he was a militant. Whatever happens in life, it happened. And be truthful, and knowing that you had somebody who raised you. And be proud of that, and pick up the baton. And nobody will come after today to you. It will be up to you to raise yourself. And your father is no more. But draw solace from the knowledge that this was just not an ordinary person. When he was called upon, to volunteer in service of the people and fight for liberation. He was there. And take it from us. Today we give testimony to that. And you must be proud of your father, all of you. To his wife, your husband is no more. But also, they say, as you get together, only death do us apart. And today, you came into the life of this man with love and everything else. He probably was not a perfect soul, but you stayed the course. And for that, we are thankful. And to the family, Morawalo Nanele Kadimil, really ANC, Realebua, or Libile Lerona, Ufikela Gashiko. Ma comrade ka fair, yale ke a qetela. Are aheng the unity of purpose. Are aheng moya wa bo comrade. Even if we differ, let us build the spirit of comradeship among ourselves. Litloele ntwena ya o lelekisa ma comrade utlwe mong a ikana or a ke tlo mo tloela till a tsama ka thoko a dieta. That is never done. Some of these comrades fought. And then when you ask where is so and so, you are at Lutuli house, you are somewhere. Mama ngukai utuhloka faith. And others cannot emerge. Mzabalazo is not in the WhatsApp group. It's in the branch of the ANC. Lidula di WhatsApp group mo le rhlapaula mo. Babamba lona liyo di branching le batla go hlaka di last minute. Le nana hore di WhatsApp group tse di a tshwaetsa. O tla ba mo etapele ka WhatsApp group. It's not going to happen. And when you get into the organization, you find them leading the organization. Don't be shocked. Because when I salute the WhatsApp group, we are going to win. In the name of Kotsoane, we are going to win. The ANC has got leadership. And I'm asking you, you must have faith in our leadership to withstand the test of time. GNU and many other challenges, we have gone through that before. Nothing will defeat us. What is important is to strengthen our organization on the ground and make it stronger. We will survive the GNU and we will come back. In the name of Kotsoane, we will come back from the setback and will come back stronger. And that is what is important. Skabala tsuelwa ki mafu li wa utlwisisa le motho mongwe wa doctor o itse ska ka bua ka tswekere because is a medical condition. Ke mpe ke bue ka nyoko. Ska la tsuelwa ki nyoko. A le bona batho ba re sella ka ntle ka mo. Jwale a ke batlo bua holo bane ke mokete o tshwerweng ke premium o tla tloa hlalosa ntho tse ngata. Jwale ke batla hore fela ka mantswe a hore ska la tsuelwa ki nyoko ntwena re itshwere. Ike ba re tshepo re ka se rekisi tukolo ya batho ba borona re tla lwana o fitlhella o tla kgaowa mo kgaowang teng empa o rekisa setšhaba sa boeso ke be ra etsa ntho so ska la tswela ke nyoko a le bona ntho di etsang re tla di lokisa Ramaphosa le Motshepele a le robetse le ya Donald Trump a ile Donald Trump re tla tsamaya boimeng bona re tla fitlhella ka nqaka re boetapele ke le jwetsa sena ke ikana ho lona hore lebitsong la pene a ona boetapele bo ikemiseditse mo tšhetšhela morago hobane ntwa e re leng ka yona kasheko ke ntwa ya hore re tswela pele jwang o ntlafatsa maphelo a batho ba bo rona ka seo re senang sona matla a rona a fokotseile re tswela pele jwang ho sireletsa tokoloho ya rona e re bitsang ka hore ke National Democratic Revolution ka matla a re senang ona jwale yeo le tshwantse le understand hore re tla tswela pele jwang kapa jwang ho sireletsa se leng sa batho ka matla a re nang le ona. We are not about to give up. So here in the Free State, you don't have the luxury of fighting each other. You must be working to strengthen yourselves in government, even in the African National Congress. This province has undergone a tumultuous period and turbulences. Today, we must unite it and become even much stronger going forward. Ale sabatlu etsa seo re tla le kenya tseleng le rata kapo le sa rate a nako e sa re dumella hobane ha le batlu utlwisisa re tla le kenya tseleng re tla le lokisa jwale ka ba bantse re ba lokisa re ya ba reconfigure wena o ka se ka tloa wa reconfigure o ka ba ntho e nngwe fela tje jwale le sebetse le be le boetapele mo le na le boetapele mo le na le mxolisi ke moetapele wa ANC le na le queen ke premier ba sebedisana hantle haholo jwale ke ntho ya bohlokwa yo tshwantse re tshwarane re ye pele re sebedisane re le mokgatlo wa borona so ke a leboha ka mantswe a premier ke leboha haholo gore le be le re memme gore tlo fitla mona la re ne re sa memiwa ne re tla fitla re tlo pata ngwaneso la be le re sa re fi gore re bue re le ANC ne re tla fitla ne re tlo gate crash because o kwa rona ne le ka se mopate re be re sa fitla jwale ke buella ANC kaofela mona South Africa le mafatsheng batho ba tsebang pele itse ha ba utlwa ka bohloko bona ba ile ba fitisa mantswe a kutlwelo bohloko re a leboha haholo macomrade le lelapa gore le re fe monyetla le motsotso ona gore re kgone ho bua ka pale ya mohlabani ena wa tikoloho ke a leboha
Sizabala